Hello, everyone. My name is Beverly Culpepper, and I want to talk to you today about therapists working alongside non therapists. My concern is it possible for therapists and non therapists to work together in the same work environment? I think it is possible for us to have common ground if we focus on our reasons for being together in the first place. If you, if everyone does what their part, everything should fall together without any problem. First, I would like to explain the attribution theory the way I understood it. It explained how individuals interpret and explain causes of behaviors and events. When we look at how people act, we try to come up with explanations for their behavior. Internal factors look at personality and effort, and external factors, they look at situational circumstances and environmental factors. For example, if your neighbor cuts the grass consistently, you might think he likes a well maintained yard. If the same neighbor's grass looks unkept, or after about 2 weeks, you might think the neighbor is too busy or on vacation. So attribution theory looks at two different attributions in their impact. Dispositional, which are internal or personal attributions, are behaviors that are caused by personal traits. Situational, external, or environment attributions are behaviors caused by external or environmental factors. An internal factor would be if your friend is always cheerful, you might think that is their personality. An external factor would be if someone is usually quiet, when you know they are a talkative person, you might think that they are sick or having a bad day. Attributions can be stable, showing consistent behavior, or unstable, showing situational behavior. In our workplace, which I call workplace challenges, I feel that there are some communication challenges, not with the clients or a therapist or myself with the clients, but mainly I feel that it is a breakdown in communications between the therapist and myself during downtimes where there aren't any clients in the lobby. The friendly conversations become limited. I believe the goal is to show confidentiality. That's why I think that the conversations are always limited. Like if a client walks into the room, to the office, sorry, they walks into the office, they might feel self-conscious and wonder, what are they laughing about? Or in general, they might wonder, what are we talking about? Some clients might feel it as welcoming, where depending on what's going on at the moment in their life, They might end up feeling uncomfortable, disturbed, or upset by this, by the little chatter or whatever in the office. Not only that, it makes some people feel like they are in a therapist chair because some therapists like to ask questions to understand you better. And that's sort of how I feel like sometimes when the coworkers talk to me and they ask questions. Some conversations are, they don't, when I talk to other people that are not therapists, they don't ask some questions. They don't go into detail sometimes, but I notice that my coworkers are very detailed. They ask you one question and then they'll follow up with another question. You're like, wow, did I do something wrong? But that's not the case. They're just trying to understand what you're talking about. So, knowing the job they do, which is listening when asked a question, I guess it's easy to feel that way. Now, some solution to erase that feeling of being evaluated, or from the therapist's point of view, probably feeling like they need to have you think about a plan of action to resolve the issue. Um, Keep conversation fun and not dramatic. That's how you resolve that issue. Try to just stay away from anything that's sad. Try to stay away from serious or dramatic topics, period. Lighthearted jokes and shared interests like sports and different passions help make the day feel less formal. A lot of times with my supervisor, we'll talk. I know a little bit about cars, just a little bit because my husband likes cars. We will talk about cars, and because he likes to ride motorcycles, I'll listen to his stories about motorcycles, and I'll tell him stories about my husband's cars. So even doing things like health topics, usually everybody can talk about health topics. Eating and recipe tips, that's mostly the females, but some guys in there, they do know how to cook. So listen to them talk about making ribs, or that's kind of interesting on how they go about doing it. Whenever they do talk, that we only had that conversation like one time when we had like a cookout, but I think that's a good idea to just like take time out, have a lunch meeting. And I think that will leave room for us to just open up just a little bit more. Along with practicing self care, like reading, calls for a relaxing atmosphere, and you don't have to feel like it's formal all the time. Showing professionalism around the clients in the lobby or in the therapist's office is so important. We shouldn't do anything like leave paper out, or in the therapist's office, they shouldn't leave names out on their desk or anything like that, because we want the clients to feel comfortable. Because the client is usually discussing their most sensitive concerns, from a loss of a loved one to suicide to self identity to anxiety and depressions to more positive situations as their aspirations and passion, where they might just need to figure out a plan to achieve them. So it's, I guess it's good for the therapist to sometimes run across people who just need a path to go to instead of going through some type of trauma. So they do get that every now and then, but mostly they're dealing with students who have some type of trauma. Maybe their grades are low and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to tell their parents, or should they drop a class or whatever. I think maybe that's a lot of reason why the conversation is so slim when it comes to me talking to the coworkers because all they do all day. Not saying that I talk about problems, but they probably don't want to run into a situation where they have to help resolve an issue, or so they just turn into introverts. I don't know if that's just part of their personality because that's what they do, therapy. They're used to listening, but that's what happens most of the time. Maybe that's why I'm struggling just a little bit with trying to have them talk more. But if everyone is focusing on what matters most, and most of the time we are, it calls for a fast day. If I am scheduling or rescheduling, along with checking people in with their therapist, my day is smooth. If the therapist is seeing about 6 clients a day, that is 1 hour each so that is not bad. A fast day for them as well. In the summer, I am more like reading books, doing workshops, a class, or using my vacation days. That's what I mostly do. And that's the same that the therapists end up doing. So maybe that's why that helps break up the monotony of always having to deal with clients and resolving issues. So the therapist listens to the clients' situations each day and works to help the students to see the light at the end of the tunnel. First time students coming to therapy usually feel uncomfortable, but after the first session, most come back for more. What I love to think about to myself is what happens what happened to this person, or they are not coming in anymore. I assume that they graduated or they resolved the issue, but I don't dare ask the therapist what happened to them because I read my confidentiality form that I signed. So, looking at the fact that I am an extrovert and I can't talk to my coworkers like I would like to, handling the office issue filled my day up. I do a little small talk with the students just to make them feel comfortable, but I try not to because I don't want to actually run into a situation where I cross the therapist territory. I have talked to a student too long, and then I had to let them know. Well, when you talk to your therapist, they will may be able to help you out with that. I'm just here to check you in. Overall, working in the mental health and wellness center is a very fulfilling opportunity for me. The truth is that even though I am not a counselor, I can get you to the right person, to the right people to help you, and that is enough for me. Thank you for listening, and I will leave my next slide up for you to take pictures of my references to review for yourself. I must say that looking at this list, there were two favorite books that I enjoyed listening to because I used the audio reader and audio player. Audio, it's just called audio, I do believe. But Dale Carnegie with How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a very good book. I think I'm gonna keep that book and I might end up reading that again because that book was very helpful. Another book that I was looking at was Cheryl, listening to was Cheryl Sandberg, and that was Lean In, Women, Work, and the Will to Lead. That was a good book to just listen to as well because it stressed the point of women should try to go out for leadership more than what they do. and they should try to break the biases. So, if you get a chance, just look through my references here, refer to my references, and watch some of those videos or grab those two books that I said was my favorites because they really did help me out a lot. So, again, thank you for your time, and till next class, take care.